Students, writers, scribes, I'm Alec with the Gavilan College Writing Center. Our tutoring services provide you with free assistance on essays, reports, research, etc. Individualized conferencing with students is where a great deal of progress is made. However, we also offer a handful of writing tutorials in written and/or video format to help you with your writing needs. Perfecting the written word, that's the business we're in. As you may know, proper punctuation is a vital part of writing with clarity. To help you with the punctuation in your writing, 2 punctuation marks will be covered in today's tutorial: colons and em dashes. This presentation will be divided into 3 parts. Part 1 will cover colons, Part 2 will cover em dashes, and Part 3 will cover when em dashes and colons can be used interchangeably. Part 1. Colons. What is a colon? A colon is a punctuation mark that has both grammatical and non-grammatical usages. Its purpose is to promise the completion of something just begun. According to Garner's Modern American Usage, the authority on grammar, usage, and style, colons have 5 different uses. Firstly, it may link 2 separate clauses or phrases. Secondly, it can introduce a list of items. Thirdly, it can introduce a wholly self-contained quotation. Fourthly, it can be used after the salutation in formal correspondence. Lastly, it has some other non-grammatical uses, which we will cover later. First use. It may link 2 separate clauses or phrases by indicating a step forward from the first to the second. Example number 1. Boeing left some chips on the table. It agreed to give up the exclusive supplier agreements it had negotiated with American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and Continental Airlines. Example number 2. Your assignment. Link up with Alpha Squad, destroy the anti-aircraft weaponry inside the enemy base, and meet at the extraction point. Example number 3. The presented evidence did not resolve the real question: whether the suspect did in fact step foot in the museum the night of the theft. What follows the colon may be either a full clause or just a phrase, and depending on which of these things follow the colon, the first word may or may not be capitalized. Second use. The colon can introduce a list of items, often after expressions such as the following and as follows. Example: the meetings are as follows: December 15th at the main campus auditorium, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. December 16th at the recreational center, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Third use. According to Garner's Modern American Usage book, the colon formally introduces a wholly self-contained quotation, but it is only mandatory if the quotation is in block form. Example number 1. By 1776, it seemed clear to numerous inhabitants of the western areas of the Connecticut River Valley that the fight against tyranny had assumed a twofold character. We are contending against the same enemy within that is also without. Example number 2. His next comment chilled me. We will be watching everything you do. When what appears to be an attribution is self-contained, structured as a complete thought, the quotation should be set off from the phrase by a colon rather than a comma. However, based on what I have seen, I believe colons also introduce block quotations all the time. When looking at a work such as Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, Zinn uses a colon every single time he incorporates a quote into his book in block form. If you have the book, you should check this for yourself. Fourth use. The colon often appears after the salutation in formal correspondence. Example: Dear Mr. Smith. Fifth use. Finally, the colon separates the following: book titles and subtitles, chapters and verses in biblical citations, and the hours and minutes in time. Part 2. Em dashes. What is an em dash? An em dash is this punctuation mark, which is used to mark an interruption in the structure of a sentence. The em dash is a very versatile punctuation mark because, depending on the context, the em dash can take the place of parentheses, colons, or commas. Although versatile, the em dash is best limited to 2 appearances per sentence. Otherwise, confusion rather than clarity is likely to result. Uses. Em dashes can take the place of parentheses. M dashes can be used to clarify a sentence that is clogged up with commas. First use. M dashes in place of parentheses. Example 1. Upon discovering the errors, all 124 of them, the publisher immediately recalled the books. Here is example number 1 revised. Upon discovering the errors, all 124 of them, the publisher immediately recalled the books. Example number 2. After 3 weeks on set, the cast was fed up with his direction, or, rather, lack of direction. And here is example number 2 revised. After 3 weeks on set, the cast was fed up with his direction, or, rather, lack of direction. Although dashes are considered less formal than parentheses, they are also more intrusive. M dashes draw attention to the parenthetical content, whereas parentheses are more subtle. When M dashes are used in place of parentheses, surrounding punctuation should be omitted. Second use. M dashes can be used to clarify a sentence that is clogged up with commas. Example. I heard this anecdote from Mikhail Gorbachev, who had heard it from Gromkio himself when I paid him a visit earlier this year to talk about the vodka anniversary. The sentence above would look sloppy if the well-placed M dashes weren't there. And we don't want sloppy sentences. Part 3. Using M dashes in place of colons. An M dash can be used in place of a colon when you want to emphasize the conclusion of your sentence, or you are linking 2 separate clauses or phrases by indicating a step forward from the first to the second. Example number 1. Boeing left some chips on the table. It agreed to give up the exclusive supplier agreements it had negotiated with American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and Continental Airlines. Example number 2. The presented evidence did not resolve the real question, whether the suspect did in fact step foot in the museum the night of the theft. If you recall, these are the same examples I used when explaining colons. In this particular case, M dashes and colons are interchangeable. Basically, M dashes do not replace colons when you are separating book titles, subtitles, biblical verses, etc. You are writing a formal salutation, you're introducing quotations, or introducing a list of items. No doubt about it, punctuation can be difficult to get right at first, much less master. But as long as you put the proper care, effort, and time into your writing, you will be able to progress. And I have every confidence that you'll make good use of the information presented here. Good luck.